The teen brain, it's just not grown up yet. When Dr. Frances Jensen's sons were adolescents, Dr. Jensen was very stressed. She kept asking, "What are you thinking?" Many parents are confused by their teenagers' actions, she said. Dr. Jensen is a children's neuroscientist at Children's Hospital in Boston. For example, her oldest son, Andrew, colored his hair black and red and went off to school with black leather pants. His grades also dropped when he turned 16. "My son transformed into another person. It was hard. I knew that he was the same Andrew," Dr. Jensen says. Suddenly, her children were acting like aliens. She tried to understand her son's changes in mood. Then, Dr. Jensen decided to investigate what neuroscientists are learning about teenagers' brains and why they behave in certain ways. Teenage brains are different. She learned that it's not so much what teens are thinking, it's how they are thinking. Dr. Jensen says scientists used to think the human brain was completely developed by age 10. We used to think that a teenage brain is just an adult brain with less experience. A crucial part of the brain, the frontal lobes, is not fully connected in teen brains. The frontal lobes are the part of the brain that says, "Is this a good idea? What is the consequence of my actions?" Jensen says. In teens, it takes longer to access the frontal lobes part of their brain. Teenagers don't have as much of the protection called myelin or white matter that adults have in the frontal lobes area. Your brain nerves need myelin for signals to move fast from one part of the brain to another. In a teenager's brain, the myelin is thin. There can be poor communication between one part of the brain to another. It's like having bad cell phone service. You're missing connections and messages from other parts of your brain. Partially connected frontal lobe. Many scientists argue that people 23 and younger are more likely to get into accidents because they are not able to think of the consequences of their bad driving decisions. Dr. Jensen said that her 16-year-old son got into a dangerous car accident. The new information about adolescent brains may also explain why teenagers can be very selfish and self-centered. You think of teenagers as these rude and selfish people, Dr. Jensen says. That is just the developmental stage they are at. They cannot think about the effects of their behavior on other people. The problem is that they do not have a completely connected frontal lobe. More likely to have addiction. There are more differences between teenage and adult brains. Nature made the brains of children and adolescents excitable. Teen brain chemistry responds to everything in their environment. This is the reason that teens and kids can learn new things quickly. But this brain chemistry can also have negative effects. Teens look for new ways to find excitement: alcohol, nicotine, marijuana, cocaine, ecstasy, etc. Teens are more likely to become addicted because their brains like the excitement of something new, like a drug. Scientists show that a teenager who smokes marijuana will have longer negative effects than an adult. An adult's brain can return to normal more quickly than a teenager's brain after taking drugs or alcohol. The effects of drugs and alcohol can last for 2 or 3 days longer on a teenage brain. When Will asked his mom, Dr. Jensen, why he cannot do drugs, his mom explained how drugs work on teen brains. Her son learned that if I smoke pot tonight and I have an exam in 2 days, I'm not going to get a good grade. It's a fact. Dr. Jensen said that studying neuroscience really helped her understand her son's development and give them advice as they went through their adolescence. Reading questions. Name 3 ways adolescent brains are different than adult brains. Number 2, according to the article, why do adolescents sometimes make bad decisions? Number 3, what do the frontal lobes control in the brain? Number 4, how does this information about teen brains connect to the play Romeo and Juliet by William Shakespeare? Multiple choice questions. In the article, paragraphs 1 through 5 are used to reveal A, the author's opinion about the teenage brain, B, the author's reasons for studying the teenage brain, C, the difficulties of being a teenager, D, the changes that have occurred about how we study the teenage brain. Number 2, in paragraph 13, what does Dr. Jensen's comment about teens being selfish suggest? A, teens can control their emotions. B, teens do not have enough myelin in their brain. C, teens are at the correct developmental stage. D, teens have difficulty thinking about the effects of their actions on other people. Number 3, according to the teen brain, it's just not grown up yet. What is the main reason Dr. Jensen is studying the teenage brain? A, she is recording new data about teenage brains. B, she is writing a book about teen brains. C, she is trying to understand and explain her son's decisions and actions. D, she is comparing teenage brains to adult brains. Number 4, what is the main purpose of the section More Vulnerable to Addiction? A, to emphasize the increase in drug addiction of teens in recent years. B, to show how Dr. Jensen's son stopped smoking marijuana. C, to provide data about teens and drug addiction in the United States. D, to explain why teens are more likely to become addicted to drugs.